Hey YouTube, Biker Mike here again, working on the old trusty, rusty GMC Sierra once again. So I've been having some issues with it, blowing some blue smoke at startup, and also like it was just kind of running rough and had like a little bit of a mist to it, and it wasn't shifting that well, and so I was really concerned about the blue smoke. I thought it was another cracked head. So if you haven't seen that video, I've got a video on how to diagnose a cracked cylinder head on this. So I checked things all out and everything was good underneath the valve covers. There was no gummy sludge. But I got thinking about it after, and I actually saw a couple other videos on YouTube about this. So I thought I'd check it out. And how I checked it was just back here at the back of the valve cover, there's a PCV system, and I just pulled this off like that and put my finger right there, and well, there was a whole bunch of oil on it, as you could see in that picture. So I knew I had the issue of the oil going up through the baffle inside the valve cover. So it was just on this side of the engine, which is the driver's side. And what I did was, it's real simple to fix. I've got some pictures of what I did and I'll explain it in those pictures, but there's just I think these are 10 millimeter bolts. There's like 5 of those, and the whole coil pack will come off the valve cover. Just disconnect it right here too. And then once you get that up and out of the way, then there's, I think, 4 or 5 8 millimeter bolts that hold the valve cover on, and you can just pop that off. And it looks, it looks a little tricky, but it's not. It's really simple. And yeah, I'll show you here in the picture of exactly what I did to modify that valve cover. Okay, so here we're looking at the back side of the driver's side valve cover, and you can see all those red circles there. Those are all the extra drain holes I drilled into that baffle. And you can also see how the baffle is riveted right into the valve cover, so it makes it really tricky to clean things out. You can also see on the right side of that picture the 2 red circles and then the bigger hole right above them. That's the main vent hole that is meant to vent off the crankcase gases up into that baffle and then down along it and then out the spigot and back into the intake system. So what happens is oil also gets back up in there and behind that baffle, and then you can see the factory oval holes that are meant to drain that oil back into the valve train. Well, what happened with mine was those clogged up, those factory drain holes, probably due to the cracked cylinders I had in the past with all the goop up in there. So I really had to work at those for a while to get those cleaned out, and I used everything I had in the shop. I mean, I put brake cleaner, carb cleaner, Varsol, got poking around in there with a little piece of wire, anything I could use to flush and clean that out, as well as using compressed air, especially after I drilled those extra holes. So once I got that all cleaned out, I knew the issue was, the oil backed up in there and came up through that spigot and right back into the motor. So now the oil that does get up in behind that baffle can easily drain back into the valve train, and I've had no issues since. And like I showed you, that breather tube going to the intake is bone dry, and that fixed the problem 100%, and I didn't have to spend any money doing this. Now you can also get an updated valve cover, but if you're like me and you don't like to spend money unnecessarily, then this works, and it works really good. There's no more oil coming out of the PCV system and going right into the intake. And I think it goes right down into one of the cylinders, and it can actually foul out the spark plug. And this is a pretty common issue with these LS motors, and a lot of them consume a lot of oil, and this is the reason why. So yeah, if you just pop this off, and like it is like bone dry in there. Now I cleaned it all out with some brake cleaner and compressed air, this whole tube here, before I reinstalled it, and it's like bone dry now, and I haven't had any smoke on startup, and I cannot believe how much better my truck runs, even the way it sounds when you start it up. And the shifts, I thought I was having some transmission issues, but because you've got unmetered hydrocarbons coming up through this hose into the intake system that isn't accounted for, it can cause the engine to run a little bit at a time, like at a sync with the transmission. So that's where you get those rough shifts. So the output shaft on the engine needs to be right in sync with the transmission. Otherwise, you know, you'll get those rough shifts. And with those unmetered hydrocarbons and oil going into the engine, either causing the engine to misfire a little bit or just to be a little bit at a time. But I cannot believe how much better my truck drives. And, you know, even the exhaust smells cleaner, as funny as that sounds. So if you guys, all you got to do is have a real quick look at this. Just check that, and if there's oil, do that little modification, and you'll be amazed how much better your truck runs, and it'll definitely consume less oil. So there you go, guys. A video, an explanation of what I did, and it's real simple to check, and it's really simple to fix. And if you want, you can buy the updated valve cover, but there is no necessity for me to do that. I tested it out just by drilling those holes, and it definitely works awesome. So hope you guys like that video. If you like that video, like my video, subscribe. I've got lots of videos on this old GMC truck. I'm going to be doing some more here in the future. I got some cab corners to replace, so that'll probably be the next video I make. And I got a power window motor to replace too. So yeah, check out my playlist of the GMC Sierra. And once again, thanks for watching. Biker Mike out.